We're most of the way through bank earnings season. We had two this morning, Citigroup and Bank of America, and they unfortunately for them, showed us why they're the laggards of the sector. Anthony.
Yeah, it's nice in some respects to see them come out on the same day so we can write one story about how bad two of the biggest banks are in the country. I think actually Citi does slightly better. And also don't forget they've got a new CEO, Mike Corbat. Well, I mean, one could argue it's Mike O'Neill, the chairman, who now runs the firm, having kicked out Pandit. But he's put, whichever one of them we think is running it, has put a big amount of charges in.
They've made some more provisions for litigation and stuff,
there's like a big provision for litigation of over $1 billion. There's $1 billion going for repositioning that was announced last quarter. So, this is Mike Corbat to an extent, getting his feet under the desk. But strip all that out and they're barely making 6% return on equity, which is just abysmal.
Yeah,
and you've got something similar at Bank of America.
Bank of America is the same. I mean, in some ways, it's the same old struggles, right? I mean, they're still dealing with the legacy of Ken Lewis, which is these mortgage problems. I mean, a lot of these one-off charges, people knew that they were coming. They were announced earlier this month. But it's still, I mean, $700 million.
So it's kind of funny that you look at the press release, the first thing is here are all the one-offs that we have.
And I mean, it's quite the list. And, again, I mean, I think you could probably say we're probably further along than we were before, but, I mean, there's still some outstanding lawsuits that they have to contend with. I think it makes a certain amount of sense that they're trading so below book value because everybody is just kind of waiting.
Yeah, both of them are.
And, until this clears and you can kind of really get a nice read of what is going on with the bank.
If I'm an investor, I can look at JP Morgan and I think, this is much cleaner now despite some problems last year. I can see a way forward here. I mean, Citi have done some things like their box of bad assets has got a lot smaller.
Yeah, that's gone down from like 800-900 billion of bad assets to 150 billion. It's a pretty good thing they've done there. But you look at both these banks, their core earnings are still pretty dismal. And that, I mean, some of it is going to be expense. So B of A especially, but Citi as well, have had to bulk up to cover all these mortgage foreclosures, and there's not a lot of money.
When you're at the time when, if anything, you need to be cutting. Yeah.
But you look at, I forget what the exact numbers are, but because we've got to strip out some of these extra charges. But you're looking at 80 to 90% efficiency ratio, which sounds good, but you've got to turn it around. That's the percentage of revenue they're spending on costs. Whereas you look at the best performers in the business, like
Bank of America has this long-term plan to bring costs down, but I mean, essentially what they're doing is they are restructuring this bank. I mean, they were big in mortgages. They had like 17% market share of like mortgage servicing. They're getting out of that business. I mean, not completely, but they don't. So they're restructuring all this thing. I mean, it's going to take some time before you really get a sense of what Bank of America is going to look like and where its big profit centers are going to be.
And even places where they've done better over the last few years. Like if you look, I was looking at the investment bank at B of A this morning, and their revenue from fixed income went down a bit, but their value at risk, which is it's not a great metric, but it's one metric looking at how much money they're putting at risk, doubled from last quarter and they made less money. So even there,
and they're hoping that some of that revenue is going to come through in the first quarter.
Of course,
but I mean, we'll see. I mean, and again, I feel like particularly with Bank of America, I mean, it still is sitting on over $1 trillion of deposits. At some point, when interest rates go up, it'll be looking a lot healthier. But I mean, it's also dealing with that. I mean, at some point, right?
Okay, we'll leave it there. We have one more bank reporting tomorrow. That's Morgan Stanley, and we will be back tomorrow as well with more breaking views.